Now let me start by saying this. This is not a shot at any YouTuber, any group of YouTubers, anybody putting out a certain message. Because see, I know how the minds of some of you brothers work. You know, you have this feminine mindset where, you know, you love the tea, you know, you love the smoke. You know, you love to see men at odds on the internet for some reason. So I feel like I needed to address that. I know that when it comes to this whole high value male thing, I think it's safe to say that Brother Samuels is one of the spokespersons for this. I have no issue with that brother. I haven't watched enough of his content to even address him. You know, I see him on major platforms and I've checked those videos out, but I would love to see that brother end up on the Oprah show or even speaking at the White House, to put his mission out, right? So again, this is no smoke at any particular YouTuber. The reason I'm making this video is because, you know, when I scroll on my IG feed, right, you know, I see brothers, young brothers, you know, posted up in front of, you know, the new car they bought. Hashtag high value male. You know, I see brothers with the wad of money. I see brothers spreading the cheese on their arm. Hashtag high value male. And I'm like, this is a problem. I'm like, we're beginning to go down a very dark road that I'm assuming nobody else can see, right? Now, I don't know all the tenets of being a high value man, but after I heard the first one, which is, you know, a man needs to make this much money, I knew the rest of it was bullshit. I didn't have to hear anything else. I said anything that comes after that, it has to be BS, right? Now, to the men that are confused, you young brothers that are kind of on the fence, like, you know, well, what is a high value man? How am I supposed to move? It's not your fault. It's not your fault. It's my fault. It's brothers that are my age. It's our fault because we're the ones that have allowed you to even get this far. You know what I'm saying? You know, I said a few weeks ago, I said, you know, if nobody wants to quarterback this thing, if nobody's going to step up and lead us in the right direction, I said, Soul will do it. I said, give me the ball. I said, give me the ball and watch me work, right? So I'll quarterback this thing. And I'm telling you right now, most of you young brothers have no clue what a high value man. Most of you brothers have no clue what a man is. But you're going to learn today.
Is it not written in your law that ye are gods? You understand what I'm saying? So it just depends on what level you own based on, whether you're human or whether you're immortal.
At ease. It's your boy Soul Immortal. Brothers, I think that the world is resetting itself. I saw a post that Brother O'Shea Duke posted. It's been a couple of weeks ago, but he was saying that like 7 out of the top 10 billionaires of the world or the U.S., 7 out of 10 of them, you know, their wives have left them, have divorced them, right? And my theory behind that is, you know, I think that the world is shifting. I think the world is putting us back in our natural state. I think it's resetting everything, right? And I think that women are becoming more drawn to masculinity again. Now, I think in an effort to fight this shift, I think that a lot of men that may lack certain elements of masculinity, I think that these men are now pushing this whole high value male thing, you know, to try to shift the energy, back toward men having money or putting the power back in money, right? Now this is a theory of mine, but what I'm getting ready to talk about today, guys, is not theory. What I'm getting ready to share with you today is actual case study, you know, to go with what I'm saying about this whole high value thing, right? Now when it comes to, you know, women, this is my take on it, right? You know, I can remember back when I first got married. You know, if you watch a number of my videos, you know, I got married at a young age. I was 21. We were young. We were in the military. I know we did some time. We spent some time in Georgia. And I remember when we moved to Oklahoma, Fort Sill, right? I was in my early 20s, right? And I can remember we were renting this house from a man. Landlord was a jackass. And I remember when that lease was up, we moved to a townhome. And I remember the old landlord saying, hey, you know what? You got to, on this day, if I don't have the keys, I'm going to charge you a whole nother month's rent. And I was like, cool, right? So we got everything moved into the new spot. Had a couple days left. And all of a sudden, man, we went through a huge snowstorm. I'm talking about huge. I'm talking about every single thing was closed. All the stores, roads were shut down. I remember my driveway at the new spot was slanted. My vehicle, our vehicles couldn't get on the road. Nobody was driving, right? And I called this old landlord. I'm like, hey, you know what? Let's let this clear, and then I'll bring the key. I'll meet you at the old house and give you the key. And he was like, nope. If you're not here by this date, then I'm charging you a whole month's rent. And I was like really? But in the back of my mind, I was like, you know what? I said, you're right. I shook on this deal. I signed the lease. I agreed to this. So you know what? You're right. So I told my wife at the time. I said, make me a pot of coffee. She made me a pot of coffee. I poured it in a big thermos. And next thing you know, I rucked up. Put my boots on, put my hat, everything on, and I rucked up and I walked. Now, brother, I'm not going to even exaggerate. It was at least 2 miles one way that I had to walk to go to this old house, man. And snow was coming up almost to my knees. It had been snowing, for 2 solid days, right? And I remember getting there. And the guy pulled up. He had a big SUV with snow chains on his wheels. And he pulled up, man, still being an asshole. And I remember saying, man, I was hoping we could meet inside because I got to use the bathroom. I done walked, I've been walking for a minute. And brother was like, nope. He didn't even get out the truck. I gave him the key, man, and the brother backed out. And I remember, I don't know if y'all ever seen those stickers. Those stickers you see on the back of cars or trucks where the little dude is using the bathroom and he's looking over his shoulder. That was me, man. I went to this brother's bushes and I'm using the bathroom and I'm looking at him back up, and he had 10 on his car. I couldn't see inside his vehicle, but I'm sure this brother was probably flipping me off, man, calling me all kind of ninjas and everything else. But I remember walking back home. Again, another 2 miles in the snow, man. I remember walking back home and my wife just being glad, man, that I handled that. Like, I took care of that situation, And it wasn't 5-10 minutes later, man. Boom, power went down. Snow had shut everything down. We had no power. Now, the thing is, we had a fireplace. It was getting cold. We had a fireplace, but the fact that we had just moved in, but I hadn't even got no firewood yet. I wasn't even prepared, right? After a couple of hours, man, that installation started giving up. House started getting cold, right? But I got my axe. I went across the street. Waka, waka. I'm out there cutting, man, about an hour and a half straight, man. I'm bringing plenty timber back. You know what I'm saying? So we had heat. I remember, after a certain amount of time, the food went bad because power was out for some days. Food went bad, and we pretty much didn't have nothing to eat. And I had these MREs that I kept in my truck when we used to go to the field. If you don't know what MREs are, those are meals ready to eat. When you go to the field in the military, you got the little bag, put a little water in it, shake it up, and it heats your food up. You got spaghetti and chicken and all kind of stuff. And brother, I remember for 2 days, me and my wife ate MREs, brother. And I remember, a couple days later, everything cleared up, snow was gone, life was back to normal. Now, over the next 7 or 8 years, my wife and I, man, we would grow to do big things, man. We got in some solid careers. I sent her to college. She got in the medical field. She was making the bag. I was making the bag. We had a house built. We were buying cars, big rings, taking trips. Life was good, right? But I guarantee you this. If you were to call my ex-wife right now and ask her, what elements of your ex-husband would you say made him a high-value male? Do you think she would say, oh, well, he was able to, put me in certain cars. He was able to take me on certain trips. He was able to put certain bags on my shoulder. Do you think she would say that? Or do you think she would say, you know what? It was that man's survival ability. It was that man's ability to make stuff done that he'd agreed to make stuff right. It was his ability to make sure I was taken care of, that I was warm in the snow. It was his ability to make sure that food was going to be on the table regardless. It would have nothing to do with the amount of money I brought in, the things that I was able to shower her with. It would have nothing to do with that. And the thing is, a lot of you young brothers are getting that confused. Or a lot of you brothers are getting to the point now where you're unable to tap into your masculinity because you're putting so much emphasis on the bag and what the bag can do. What you understand is, man, if you put that energy in the bag, then what happens when this world, you know, financial system collapses and nobody's working and it's straight survival mode? That's where you'll be able to determine what the high value male is. So you got to go back to a point before all this technology took over everybody's lives, man. You let the bottom fall out, man. And all these guys with the big bags and all this stuff, and they're putting their energy in that, brother. It's gonna be a rude awakening, man. It's gonna be a rude awakening. You know, even thinking about my son, right? You know, a lot of you know that, you know, I'm a single father. You know, it's me and my son. You know, we rocking out. A few months ago, about a month and a half ago, I was sitting there making a YouTube video, man, and I get a phone call, and it's my son's school, and the principal's like, you know, Mr. Soul or whatever. He was like, yeah, I need you to come up here and pick your son. We had an issue on the bus. Your son was getting ready to get on the bus. And now all we know is that, you know, another young kid is bleeding, having to get stitches, and yada, yada, yada. You got to come get him. Like, this is a major issue, man. And I'm thinking in my mind, like, I know my son. I'm like, I know how my son moves, man. Like my son is bigger than me now. He almost 6 foot, right? But he don't bring no smoke like that. He ain't finna start. So I'm like, you know, something's not right. So I get up to the school, and the first thing that bothered me is the principal and I don't know if he was I don't know what this dude was, but he had the, I guess he's security or something. He had the walkie-talkie and the, you know, they're walking my son out like freaking, like helter-skelter or something, right? And I'm like, you're not going to even let me come to school and let's sit down, let's talk about, see what's going on? They walking my son out. And they sitting there telling my son, he ain't saying nothing, right? They sitting there telling me to spiel, yeah, your son did this and now kid is bleeding. And they talking about charges and all this kind of stuff. And I'm like, okay. Now, while they're telling me this, I see this young kid walk out the school. He just, you know, school lot, his parking lot is empty at the time. And this little kid is just skipping and he gets in a truck and he leaves. And when we got in the car, first thing I asked my son, I said, what happened, man? Tell me the story. And my son tells me this story, man. He says, I get on the bus, Dad. He says, I get on the bus, and this little kid, he already got smoked with everybody. You know, he said, this little kid is throwing pencils at everybody. He's bullying little girls. He said, I act like I didn't even see it. He said, I went and sit down. He said, I'm sitting there chilling. Boom, I catch a pencil straight to the chest. So he did what he had to do, and he handled it, right? And I said, did you tell your principals this version of the story? He said, yeah, I was telling them that. He said, not only that, it's on camera. Everybody was telling him what happened. I said, what happened to the other dude? Like, what they do to him? He said, that was him that was skipping out, getting in the truck with his dad and leaving. I said, really, right? Brothers, I didn't even sleep that night. First thing I did, I got on my computer, man, and I'm just typing. I'm typing the principal. I'm like, this is what I found out. This is where you were wrong. And I'm letting you know I'm coming up there tomorrow morning and we're going to fix this, right? Brother, as soon as the sun rose, principal didn't call me back. Assistant principal calls me back and says, you know, Mr. Soul, we apologize. We had a mix up and yada, yada, yada. This. I said, well, until y'all give me the full scoop on how we going to handle it, my son is going to be at home. Y'all let me know when y'all get ready, right? So I think my son stayed out a day. I took him to school that next day, and the principal's out there. The principal is out there, and he opens the door. He does this everyone. He's opened the door for my son, and he's talking to me, and this. I'm just ignoring him, right? And the thing is this. My son lives a good life, man. My son goes to, you know, some of the top schools. You know, he's in the top school district in Texas. You know, he participates in some of the, you know, top football camps. Matter of fact, that's where he is now. He's in a summer-long football camp. You know, he trains at, you know, I have him training at the Cowboys facility, Cowboy Fit, right there in Frisco, Texas. Just a few days ago, man, I introduced him to the same brother that trains the linebacker for the Cowboys. I think his name is Jalen Smith or something Smith. And we're going to get some sessions with this brother, man. So my son, he lives a good, solid life, right? But if you were to ask my son right now, you know, what elements of your dad would you say make him a high value man or a quality man? Like, do you think my son would say, oh, it's the fact that, he keeps my closet full of J's. He keeps me full of the LeBrons, right? Do you think he would say, it's because my father was willing to drop out over a band for a PS5 as soon as they came out? Do you think he would say these type things? Or do you think he would say, I think the thing that makes my dad a high value man is the fact that, he's willing to go to prison. He's willing to go to the grave to ensure that this world is not on my ass. You know what I'm saying? See, guys, we're getting it twisted. We've taken elements of masculinity and we've subdued it, trying to give money the power, trying to give status the power. Brother, I'm telling you, a high value man, if that's the word you want to use, has always been the masculine man. You know what I'm saying? We have it confused, brothers. I remember I used to live downtown Dallas, man. You've heard me talk about that before. Mercantile building. And I remember when I used to go downstairs and go down to the restaurants or whatever. There was this homeless man down there. His name was Ernest. I call him Mr. Ernest. And I would sit there and talk to Ernest. I would sit there and have full conversations with him. He was selling these newspapers, right? I would always buy papers from him, man. They were like 25 cents or $1. I think I would give him like 5, 10, whatever I had, But the main thing I was giving this brother, I was talking to him because this is what I remember. What I remember is when I was in that situation, when I was, losing my home and car and didn't have no money. There's something about a man that his vibration changes. Even when you're out in public, and I still had on normal clothes, people treat you different when you're down on your luck, man. Because there's an energy around you. So the thing that I was trying to pour into this brother was like, you know what? I wanted him to feel human again. So him and I would have these full conversations, and I would just see him light back up, man, because I was just trying to pour essence into that brother, right? Long story short, this was before my son even came to live with me. I remember my son, he came in visiting me one time, man. He was visiting me for the weekend. And me and my son are walking back home, walking back toward the apartment. And I saw Ernest on that same corner selling papers. And man, Ernest he just had this look of, I don't know what this look was, man. It was just a serious look. And I walked up to him, man, and I'm chopping up like I always do. And I'm introducing him to my son. I talked about my son before. And I'm going to tell you what Ernest did. My son was a little kid back then. Ernest got on one knee and he grabbed my son by the shoulders, right? And he looked my son in the eye. And see, I didn't know a lot about Ernest, but Ernest gave my son his full story. He talked about, things he did when he was young. He talked about time spent in prison. He talked about bad decisions he made. And he told my son, he said, if you listen to your dad, he said, you won't have to deal with any of that stuff, right? And I thanked him for the conversation. And as I walked off, man, I saw the look on my son's face, brother. It was like my son had really soaked this up and was really thinking about it, right? And I think about it. I say, this man, barely even had a pot to piss in, right? But he was able to pour, knowledge and information and valuable intel on my son, right? He was able to give him value with no money, right? That's what makes a man valuable, right? At the same time, I remember some weeks later, I was talking to Ernest, and he's still selling these papers. And me and Ernest would talk about things, and I told him that I always, wanted to be a writer. And Ernest told me one day, he said, you ought to write. You ought to write, man. He said, you ought to write and put something in this paper. So I was like, I never thought about that. So what I did was I wrote a story about Ernest and I's experience. What I'm telling you now, I wrote a whole story about that, put it in the paper. Editor loved it, was printed. Not long after that, man, Ernest kind of gave me his 2 cents on me starting a YouTube channel, and just me interacting with a homeless man completely changed my life, completely changed my son's life. And you want to tell me that being a high value man is based on the zeros in your bank account? I'm telling you, most of you brothers have it confused. Most of you brothers have it confused, man. At the end of the day, brothers, again, I think this world is resetting itself. You know what I'm saying? I think this world is slowly reverting back to where masculinity is what's attractive to women. I think that is reverting back to a place where femininity is what men desire, as opposed to the bells and whistles that a woman can physically bring. And I'm telling you this, brothers, if we don't snap out of this trance we're in, we're gonna wake up in 5 years, 10 years, and what the common man looks like at that point, man, he's not even gonna be recognizable. He's not even gonna be recognizable. Now the thing is this, man, I don't care about, brothers dressing a certain way. I don't care about brothers acting a certain way. I don't care about brothers wearing man purses. What we can't do is we can't put value on the dollar.